All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the third scheduled session of the day, Checklist for a New Term, where I'll be providing an overview of the steps to wrap up your current sections and set up your new ones for the upcoming semester. My colleague Kelsey Wiest is here moderating the Q&A, so if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to enter those there and we will address them by the end of the session. We're also giving away three $25 Amazon gift cards at the end of the session. To enter for a chance to win, click the link in the chat to enter your name onto the prize wheel. And on that note, we'll go ahead and get started. Now, first, I'm going to sign into my Teach account. This is something where I believe everyone should have their Teach account set up at this point, but if you do not, please feel free to reach out to your training and support specialist, and we'll be happy to get you set up with the account. Now, to get started, I'm going to go into my course and I'm going to navigate to the Tools tab. So this is really where we begin our steps. Now, the first thing we want to do to wrap up our spring semester sections is to go down to Archive Gradebooks. This is where we're going to take an archive, or essentially a screenshot of all of our grades in Hawks for this semester, and that will save to my gradebook. So in this case, I'm going to call this Spring 2021, and I'm going to click Archive Gradebook. Now that will take a moment or two to load. And again, this archive is something that is just a good way to preserve your record. So you may export your grades as an option, you may upload them to your LMS, but ultimately this is a good way to just have that record within your gradebook itself. That'll be something that you can reference and search in the future. One thing to keep in mind is that the archive does only screenshot your grades. So if you are wanting to preserve reviews, you'll either want to export those or you'll want to keep your sections in place. And I'll show you how to hide those in just a moment. Now, once your sections are archived, the next step is to, if you integrate with your LMS, we want to break the LMS links. So that would be if you sync your course in Hawks to your course in Blackboard or Canvas, Moodle, D2L Brightspace, one of those. If a student clicks on one of those links in the future, it's going to move their code back there. If you have our auto sync feature enabled, it will continue to sync grades every night, even into the future. So it's really a best practice to go ahead and break those links. Now to do that, under the Tools tab, you're going to go to Reset Gradebooks. Here you'll see a full list of options. It's very important that you only select this one right in the middle to remove section LMS associations, if any. So this will allow you to break those links without affecting anything else about those previous sections. One other thing to remember is that you will want to wait to do this until your semester has fully wrapped up. So once you have synced your grades to your LMS for the last time, that's when you can come in here and break the links. So you'll then go down here, you'll select your spring section. I've already taken care of my fall, so I don't need to do that here, but I'm going to select my spring and click Reset Gradebook. When I do that, it's going to break that connection. Everything in my LMS will then stay the same as it was. Everything in Hawks will also stay the same. We've just broken that link between them. All right. Now, if you do not link with your LMS, you can skip this step entirely. So this is really only if you are using our sync tool. Now, the next step will be to actually get started setting up our new sections for this next semester. So we're going to go to Manage Sections and Add New Section. Now here, we're going to give our new section a name. Let's say it's Math 1332. Section 5, and this is going to be Summer 2021. As a best practice, I always recommend putting your section or your semester, specific semester in the section name. That's going to be very helpful for you when you're sorting your sections in different areas of the gradebook, or if you are syncing to your LMS, this will help you distinguish which section is which. I'll then enter in my meeting times. They match this, so I'll just use this. And actually, before I do that, one thing that I want to do once I have my section name in place is to use this course copy tool down at the bottom. Now you have two options when you are setting up your new sections for the new semester. If you want to start fresh, so start from scratch, create a brand new section, not copying anything from the past, you'll just fill out these items here, section meeting times, start and end dates, and then you'll save. And then from there, you can go through and create new templates throughout the gradebook. But if you do want to reuse any of your templates from a prior semester, for example, for my summer course, I want to use all the same settings and assignments from the spring. I'm going to copy all of that here, and then we'll update anything with an associated due date. So I'm going to scroll down here. This gray box may either appear at the bottom of your screen or over on the right. So you'll see that in either place, depending on the size of your screen. What I'll do here now is select my spring section. And when I do this, there is a pop-up that appears asking if I would like to copy my basic settings. The answer to this question 90% of the time is going to be no. And that is because this is wanting to copy the section meeting times, start and end dates from the previous section I'm copying from. So my summer section has different start and end dates and meeting times, so I would not want to copy those. So I'm going to click no. Now you'll see here my spring 21 due dates are set as my template there. I have the same curriculum assigned, same lesson late penalty assigned, my reminders assigned. So all of that is now copied over to this summer 21 section. So I'll now just put in my section meeting times. They are the same as the example. We'll then select our section start date. And then we do always recommend that as a best practice, you select these two checkboxes. This is the best way to ensure that if you have any repeating students, which I know in the summer, sometimes we do see more repeating students taking the course, this will ensure that when they transfer into your section, they are not bringing their previously completed work. So this is how you ensure they start fresh, is by selecting these checkboxes. That means when they transfer in, they will not have to, they can start fresh. Down here under section end date, this is where we're going to select the end date of our course. So we'll go ahead and select that. And then here we recommend selecting all three of these checkboxes. This will ensure that on this date, students can keep working, they can keep practicing, but their grades will no longer change. So it's really up to your discretion if you'd like that to be reading day, maybe the day of the exam, maybe even the day that exams are, or that your finals are due, or that your final grades are due. So all of those options are perfectly fine to use, but just keep in mind that the date you put here, if you select all three of these checkboxes, is the date the grades will lock in. Down at the bottom, we have time of day lessons are due. By default, this is 11:59 p.m., but you can always update this to be whatever you'd like it to be. Some instructors have it at the start of class. Others just prefer to keep it at that 11:59. So I'm now going to save changes. And that is all I need to do to actually set up the course shell for my summer section. So now I have one last step to wrap up my fall or my spring section, and that is going to be to hide the section from my gradebook. So you do have the option to delete it. So you can definitely delete old sections if you'd like, especially since we took that archive. That means that we do have all of those grades preserved. But if you are at an institution that requires you to maintain student reviews for a full year after the semester's over, or you just want to make sure that you have all those records moving forward in case there's a grade dispute or anything like that, kind of the safest thing to do is leave this particular section in place. But what we'll do is we'll hide it from both students so they can't enroll into it, and the gradebook, so that when you are in other areas of the gradebook, that old section is out of your way. So I'm going to select the checkbox for my spring section, and I'm going to select hide sections. Here I have the option to hide from the gradebook, hide from students. What you want to do is hide from the gradebook. This will also hide it from students. So we're going to select that option. And you'll now see here, visible to student, no, visible in the gradebook, no. So that's now hidden. All right, so, but again, if you don't need that record or you don't need the actual reviews, you can always just delete your old sections as well once you've archived. Now, the final steps to setting up for the new semester are going to be to update anything with an associated date. So that would be our lesson due dates, as well as our web test settings. So Feel free to update anything else you'd like. If you want to make curriculum updates, if you want to update your reminders template, your assignment groups, your lesson late penalty, you can update all of those things. But since we copied from a previous semester, I may not want to copy those things, or I may not want to or need to make updates to those things. So the highest priority items to update would be under the assignments tab. So here we'll go to lesson due dates. Now, if you want to reuse your lesson due dates from the spring and just shift them to the summer, what we'll do is create a copy of this and then we'll move everything ahead. If you want to start fresh, so you just want to enter your due dates as you go, or let's say the summer's abbreviated, it's a 6-week or an 8-week course instead of a full 16-week course, what you can do is just click on no due date template assigned from the dropdown and save changes. That will allow you to start fresh with your due dates. In this case, though, I'd like to reuse my dates from the spring to save myself a little time. So I'm going to go to Manage by Template. I'm going to locate that Spring 21 template and click Copy Selected Items. I now have that copy one of spring due dates. I'm going to select that. I'm then going to rename this. So I'll get rid of that copy one piece and I will change this to Summer 2021. I'm then going to shift my due dates. So I'm going to click here on Shift Multiple Due Dates. And for step one, I'm going to select the furthest back due date I had in the last semester. So in my case, it was January 20th. For step two, I'm going to put in my new due date for the summer semester. So I'm going to put in that first due date I'll have. So if my section starts in June, maybe I want my first due date to be the 16th. Now, when I click go, it's going to shift every one of those due dates by the number of days between these dates. So this is an easy way to shift everything up to the upcoming semester. Now, even if your dates aren't going to line up exactly by doing this, you can still at least get these dates to the correct vicinity of dates. So when I click go, it's going to move everything for me. When I do use this tool, I can view the calendar to see how I have my dates moving or how my dates moved. Since I had everything due on Wednesdays in the spring, that easily translated to all being due on Wednesdays in the summer. If you have your dates spread out a little bit more, you may need to do a little bit more rearranging. All right. So here, if you do need to rearrange any dates, you'll just click on the calendar icon and move those dates however you'd like. You can also completely remove a due date if you do not want to assign that one this term, or you can add additional due dates if you would like to assign an additional assignment this term. Once you're happy with your due dates, you'll just save changes. And the last step will be to assign it to our summer section. So I'll click copy to another section, select my summer course, and save changes. All right, so I now have those summer due dates in place. The last thing that you need to do if you are copying from an old term is update any web test due dates. So to do that, we're going to go to the Assignments tab, select Web Tests, and we're then going to click View by Section. We're going to select our upcoming term and click General Settings. When we do this, we're going to see a list of everything that was all of our web tests that were assigned to the previous semester and are now assigned to the new semester. And we'll want to update those due dates. So for my chapter 1 test, I'm going to update that to maybe be due sometime in July. And so we'll update both the start and the end date for that. And then we can leave those times in place. All of my settings in terms of my assignment groups, that all copied, my test length, number of attempts, that all copied, but you can make changes at this time. We'll then update our final exam. Say that'll be this week here. And then for our quiz, we'll have that be maybe the second week of our course. All right. Okay, so once we've done that, we will save changes and all of those due dates will be updated. All right, So if you are just copying from a spring semester, you want to reuse all the same assignments, reuse everything the same way, that's all you need to do. So you create the new section by copying the old one, update your due dates for lessons, update your due dates for web tests. So quick and easy. Now, if you do want to make updates to those other settings, or if you're setting up this section for the first time and you don't have these templates in place, or this is a new product for you, you may want to go through each of the settings we recommend to get those set up fresh. So very quickly in the next few minutes, I'm going to just point out the different best practice areas to visit in the gradebook when setting up. So we'll go back to the Tools tab and down to Communications. Now under Communications, you'll find your personal inbox, a discussion board, chat room, and one of our more popular features, which is Reminders. Reminders is where you can set up an automated reminder template. So in this case, I have one selected already, but if you did not have one already, you would just see no template assigned. You'll click on your section, and this is where you would name the template. In this case, this is my 1-day reminder. And it's going to, for any student who has not yet completed an assignment 1 day prior to its due date, they'll receive this customized message letting them know that that assignment or assignments are due. So that's all automated, so you can set that up if you'd like. I know some instructors choose not to do the reminders during the full academic semester, but sometimes instructors prefer to do this use these during the summer. I know sometimes it's an abbreviated course and you need to keep your students really engaged in keeping up with their work in order to finish on time. So that is something that I do see a lot of instructors choose to use in an abbreviated term such as the summer. The next setting I want to point out is under grade settings. Here, if we go down to assignment groups, this is where you have your grade weights for the semester. So again, if you copied, you'd have what you had previously. If you're starting fresh, you would see lessons, quizzes, and tests by default. You can put in your weights. You can add new groups if you need them to. If you need to, you can remove groups if you don't need them. So this is all intended to match your syllabus. One other feature here under grade settings that I would recommend checking out is our lesson late penalty option. This is important because the default setting is that if students complete their work late, they can still receive full credit. So if you do not want that to be the case, if you do want there to be a penalty for late homework, you can come here, click on your section name. In this case, I have a 5-day graduated late penalty set up, or a 4-day, but if you wanted to create a fixed penalty, you can do that by switching to fixed. You can adjust the number of graduations here. So I know late penalties are sometimes something that shifts in the summer as well. So depending on the structure of your course, maybe, as things are returning to campus, returning to normal, maybe you're going to go back to a late penalty, whereas you haven't used one in the past. So this is a good area to consider as well. One final update that you either will want to create for the first time or consider changes to is down here under the assignments tab under curriculum. So in this case, I am reusing my curriculum from the spring, but if you wanted to create a new curriculum, you could remove that, select no curriculum, click on your section name and create one, or just click directly onto your section name. Here we have a few of our settings enabled for this section. I have Flex Mastery enabled. That is so that if a student gets a question wrong in Certify, rather than immediately get a strike, they have one more opportunity to answer a similar question. So that way they can prove it wasn't, maybe it was just an entry error or they misread the question, where in that second attempt, if they get it right, they're good to go. If they get it wrong again, it might be a conceptual issue. I also have our enhanced practice sessions enabled here. This is where, this is a feature that's in beta. So if you opt into this, you will be opted into our double-blind case study. What this does is it reorders the practice questions in a prescriptive order based on our historical data in combination with the student's performance in the moment. So the students will get the questions in a customized order to them. So we have seen great success with this so far. It really is for the students that are working through practice to better prepare themselves for Certify. It really is helping them speed up their preparation time and get through Certify more effectively. So both getting through more quickly and actually hitting mastery sooner. All right, down here, We do have all of the lessons listed. If you're reusing an old curriculum template, all of your updates you've previously made to the lesson content will be here. If you'd like to consider any new updates to these lessons, you can click on the lesson name to open our lesson builder tool and go through from there. So again, if you are creating a section from scratch, then those are some of the things that you'd want to set up. So you'd create your new section, you'd go ahead and create a reminders template. You'd set up your grade weightings, so your assignment groups, create a lesson late penalty, and then under assignments, you'd want to enter your lesson due dates, create and assign your web tests, and set up your curriculum. So that is everything I wanted to share. So again, if you are setting up for the summer after the spring, super quick and easy to set everything up if you are just copying from the past sections. Now, we do have a few minutes here for questions, but before we jump into those, I do want to remind you that the link to enter one of the 3 $25 Amazon gift cards is available in the chat. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to enter to win. We're going to be spinning that prize wheel after we do our Q&A. So let's see what we have here for questions. Let's see. So I know that something that has come up is if you attended our What's New presentation earlier, you would have heard about this, but if not, here's a little sneak peek for you. We are going to be coming out with a web test late penalty feature at some point in the near future. So over the summer, ideally, we will be working on that. So this will unfortunately not be ready for the start of summer. But we are going to be releasing the ability to set up a late penalty for web tests. So that means that, rather than have that hard cutoff date where students can no longer access it at all, we now are going to allow them to still get in there, take them at a penalty if you set that up. So the default will still be you have until the end date to take the test, that's that, but you will now have the option to set up a penalty for anything completed late. But again, that would be something that we're hoping to have for fall. So wouldn't be something you could include in the summer course for now, unfortunately. All right, and then let's see a few other questions here. Is there an easy way to identify updates I may want to make to my assignment content? The answer to that is yes. So if you are wanting to take the summer as an opportunity to really review your assignments, make some changes, refresh things, take a look at what new questions may have been added. Something that you can do is review your assignment reviewer report to identify questions that maybe students were really struggling with. So maybe that's something, maybe that to you, that means you don't want to use that question anymore. Or maybe it means you want to change your curriculum a little bit to spend a full day in class on that topic. So there are a couple different options for how you can use this information, but to get to it, you're going to go to your reports tab and go to assignment reviewer. And before we jump in there, I do want to swap over to my sample gradebook that has some data in it we can look at. So I'm going to go to reports, assignment reviewer, and we'll go to web tests. That will be some good data for us to take a look at. So we'll then scroll down, select a web test. And then by default, you'll see your students. You'll see all of those students, how they did, all of their grades. But if you swap to analytics, you'll be able to see how the students did on a question by question basis. So in this case, that one may not have been a great example. So let me swap over to one of our lessons actually. So here you'll see we have the question listed, the objective, difficulty level, and then the percentage correct and incorrect and time spent. So if we click on the incorrect column header, that will filter by the incorrect percentage. So I can immediately see, okay, these top two questions, 44% of my students got this question wrong. Maybe I want to reconsider that question or how I cover this topic. You can then click right onto the serial number, and that will allow you to see the question, a version of that question. So you can do this for both your tests or your lessons. So you're able to go through this report, take a look. This is a great way to identify questions you either want to remove, swap out, areas where you may want to change your topic coverage in class. So all of that you can do right here and identify through the assignment reviewer report. Next question is, how can I adjust the default section displayed when I view a report? So when we came in here, you may have seen this defaulted to our Math 101 section. Let's say that this was my spring section. So I actually, now when I go in, I want to make sure that I'm seeing, my summer section, or let's say if I am teaching 3 summer sections, but one of them is face-to-face and the other 2 are online, maybe one of those I feel like I want to keep a better eye on or a closer eye on. I can do that by actually going back to, let's see, we'll actually close assignment reviewer and go back to our gradebook. You can update this setting by going to tools, display options, scrolling down below this chart, and you'll see here under additional instructor gradebook settings, section to display when first viewing a report. So if this is set to an old section, or if this is set to your face-to-face section when you'd rather focus on an online section first thing, you can select this here, save your changes, and that will save you a couple of clicks for the semester. We have one more question here, and that is, how can I transfer my student access code to my new section? So if you are using single sign-ons, if you are using our LMS integration, or our sync tool, that will happen automatically if you click on the single sign-on link within your LMS once you've linked your new section. But if not, if you are wanting to do it on the student side, or like through your student account, or if you're wanting to do that, in advance of linking or syncing in or anything like that, we can just go to, let us switch back to my Viewing Life Mathematically gradebook. What you'll do is you'll go to the Tools tab. You'll scroll down to Manage Students. Here I see my name as an instructor, so I'm still enrolled in my spring section. So I can click Transfer Students down at the bottom. And then I want to transfer myself to my summer section. By default, all of the assignments I completed in the spring, if I completed any as an instructor, would be listed here. And when I click Transfer, they would transfer with me. So now that I have transferred myself, it will redirect me to my section. I can see here I'm now enrolled in that summer section. So this is a good idea if you are wanting to just double check that all of your due dates look good and everything from the student side. An easy way to do this is to then go to your student dashboard. And then here you can easily see everything says due later. This is a good area where you can oftentimes catch if you have something that's overdue that maybe you missed your updating that due date. So I do recommend this kind of as a good step to include in your new setup process, is to make sure that you are enrolling as a student, double check it all looks good. Again, great way to identify if you missed anything. Looks like we have one more question here. All right, so few questions about just the timing of some of our features that are being released. So in terms of any of the features that are released mid-summer, so if we do release, for example, that web test late penalties feature, if we release it midway through the summer, you absolutely can enable that for any upcoming tests. So that's something where just keep an eye out on your emails from our teams, whether it's our marketing team or your individual rep. We'll make sure that we are communicating when that becomes available, and then we are happy to provide training on how to enable that for the remainder of the semester. All right, so that is all the time we have for questions. So we do want to now jump into the giveaways. If you do have any remaining questions, feel free to stop back by that Hawks virtual booth and we'll set you up with a member of our team to ask any of your questions.